Good afternoon. My name is Ray Gilbride, and welcome to WeSpeak.com. Today we're going to be talking about the elections, but more importantly, we're going to talk about election integrity. And to do that, we have a special guest with us, Tim Eyman. Many people know Tim Eyman from his many initiatives for the people of Washington State, for the years of battle, relentless fighting he has done on behalf of the people of Washington State. Today he's going to be here talking about integrity with elections and some of the other things he's doing. So Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ray. You and We Speak have been just really supportive. I appreciate being on your platform here at We Speak.
Well, Tim, you've been fighting for the people of Washington State for many years with the $30 car tabs and many other items you've done. Please explain to us a little bit about the integrity, the election integrity, and what this is. And we understand you're actually working in other key swing states now with other groups. Can you explain to us a little bit what this looks like and what it is?
Well, it's really exciting. And, first of all, Ray, thanks for having me on. We Speak, this platform has been really supportive of my efforts, and I'm just really grateful for that. But the whole issue of election integrity, as you can imagine, since November, everybody and their brother's been contacting me saying, when are we going to be able to clean up the elections? I don't believe what actually happened last November. When are we going to actually do something about it? And I felt pretty helpless about it. But then I was contacted by a national group that actually has this mission where they're going to do 7 key swing states, presidential states in our nation, and they're going to do 7 ballot measures, 7 initiatives, and they're going to do election integrity initiatives in those 7 key swing states. And obviously they know about my experience with initiatives, and they said, would you like to be part of our team? And of course I said that would be fantastic. So I'm lobbying them to add Washington to their list, but for right now, they're actually focusing on the 7 key swing states that in 2020, everyone just shook their head over, where we went to bed with Trump winning and we woke up in the morning and Biden had taken over. And we want to be able to put those initiatives on the ballot in 2022 so that we make sure that all future elections don't turn out like the last one, where half the country just doesn't believe how the thing turned out.
Tim, can you tell us a little bit what's going on with the litigation with the state of Washington? I note that as a state-sponsored headhunting contest, but can you explain to us where that is at and what's going on with that?
Well, I mean, it's been 8.5 years of investigation, litigation, persecution by Bob Ferguson, and it's an ongoing thing. It's just a part of my life now. So the AG's rulings put ridiculous restrictions on my First Amendment rights. That ruling came down, and so now we're appealing those decisions and asking that they be put on hold because of the questionable legality and constitutionality of many of the things that were imposed on me. But I'm staying 1,000% politically active. I'm working on stuff here in Washington State, but what we're talking about today is what's happening in these 7 key swing states, doing 7 election integrity initiatives. And what I'm talking about is just common sense reforms that the voters would be very attracted to, making sure that photo ID is used to make sure that the person is the person, make sure that it's only U.S. citizens that vote, make sure that after an election you can actually audit the election and make sure that only valid voters are actually casting ballots and that invalid votes don't count. We're talking real basic things, but it is amazing in so many of these other states how much the Democrats are just scared to death of an honest election. And I'm doing everything I can in our state and across the nation to make sure that what happened in 2020 doesn't happen in future elections, where people actually have faith in the system because the system has some additional checks and balances built into it.
So, Tim, basically the AG's office has limited many of the things you can do. They tell you what you can and can't do. Basically, they've taken away your income. They've taken away what you've done for income all your life. And now it's so important because you are fighting for the people of the state of Washington, and now you're fighting for people in 7 swing states. So it's fair to say you're actually fighting for everybody in America now. So what could the people in the state of Washington and America do to help protect their rights by helping you win this fight? What can they do for you? How can they help you?
Well, for the last 2.5 years, I've been in bankruptcy, and because the cost of litigation was just so astronomically expensive, and everything I've ever earned in my life is now gone. Everything that I've raised from supporters over the last 8.5 years to survive this thing is gone. I'm wiped clean. I'm stripped down to the studs. But what I'm focused on is asking people to go to my legal defense fund just so that I can appeal these ridiculously unconstitutional restrictions on my basic First Amendment rights, but it's also a restriction on every supporter out there that supports what I do, and they want me to be able to continue to do it. And the last thing they want is for, basically for me to have a straitjacket and a muzzle put on me. Bob Ferguson is working very, very hard to stop me. And I always feel that that's just the ultimate compliment. How much of a threat can I be if you're making this much effort in order to be able to stop me from doing what I'm doing? In many ways, though, he's inspired me to work even harder than I've ever worked before, simply to show him that that kind of bullying is going to backfire. And so people that want to help me would go to my legal defense fund. It's just timdefense.com, timdefense.com, and you can do a donation to my legal defense fund so I can actually appeal these ridiculous restrictions on my First Amendment rights and make sure that nobody else has to face what I got through facing over the last 8.5 years.
Okay, one more question on the Legal Defense Fund. This isn't a political campaign, so people aren't limited to what they can donate. Is that correct?
That's correct. A legal defense fund doesn't have any cap on how much you can give to it. It's people can give as much as they want. The reality is I do need to raise a huge amount of money. I mean, I owe Richard Sanders, former Supreme Court Justice, I owe him like $300,000 right now. My bankruptcy attorneys, I owe them like $15,000. I mean, I am pouring money that I don't even have into an appeal simply because I know what's going to happen. If he gets away with me, he's going to be able to get away with it with anybody else. And so I want everyone to focus like a laser beam on helping me be able to pay my attorneys so that I can appeal this stuff and make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody ever again.
So would it be fair to say this is really not a lawsuit against the state of Washington versus Tim Eyman, but this in reality is a lawsuit, the state of Washington against the freedom of everybody in Washington? And if this spreads, the freedom of everybody in America? So this is much greater than one man versus the state. So all of America needs to help defeat this. Would that be a fair thing to say?
If they get away with it with me, making these kind of restrictions on basic First Amendment rights, saying that I can't say certain things, I can't do certain things that are perfectly legal, but we're imposing these penalties on you. I mean, just to give you one example, the court said, Tim Eyman, we are declaring that you personally are a political committee. The rules say a political committee is legally prohibited from spending its money for personal use. So what that means is that if I earn any money and I'm a PAC, I'm not allowed to spend any of my own money for food, for medicine, for toiletries, for child support, for rent. The very concept of me spending my own money to take care of me and my family is legally prohibited if I continue to be considered a political committee. It is so ridiculous and so absurd, but it is such a Pandora's box, because if they can do it to me, saying one person can be a political committee, well, why not Ray Gilbride? Why not Glenn Morgan? Why not anybody in the state of Washington that's politically active, or I should say too politically active, is too involved in politics? Why not simply declare them to be one as well? So it's a very, very dangerous precedent that we're dealing with here. I am the first person in state history and U.S. history to ever be personally declared a political committee. So you want to make sure that that never happens to anybody ever again, because that's such a dangerous precedent.
Well, Tim, this is an important subject, so we're going to have you back on the show from time to time to give us updates on the litigation so people understand, because the left media is not going to cover it. It's up to people like us to actually get the truth out. It's also important for people out there to understand what they can do and how important it is to help you. And we're going to encourage people to donate. So one more time, can you just tell us where the people can go and help with these legal fees?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's timdefense.com. timdefense.com, however you want to pronounce it, but timdefense.com. And I want to do everything I can in order to be able to fight back against fascist Fergie, as I call him. It's been 8.5 years of arduous fighting, of investigation, of we want 10 years worth of your tax returns. We want all the emails. We're going to mirror your hard drive. We're going to depose your wife. We're going to make sure that you don't have an attorney for a period of time. They did everything they could to get me to a point where I would say, It's just not worth it. Where do I sign? And I will, sign off on my First Amendment rights. I'll move to Idaho. Just leave me alone. The whole idea was to break me at some point. And I just knew that if he got away with it with me, it would simply mean that he would move on to the next target and the next target and the next target. I want to make sure that he broke his pick on me and make sure that I can fight back against it. And if it was just me, I probably wouldn't be as angry about it. But I mean, he's gone after my wife, my kids, my sister-in-law, many of our supporters. I mean, this is just a vindictive, medieval way of going about politics. And I just think that you just can't let a bully like Bully Bob get away with that.
If you read the Constitution and then look at this lawsuit and some of the things they passed down, it'd blow your mind. It's almost like it's made up in a child's story or something. But it's not. We're living in Washington where this is literally going on. And this is very important that everybody understands what's at risk in this lawsuit.
Well, I really appreciate it, Ray. And again, WeSpeak.com, always been really supportive of my efforts. I encourage people to join it. I certainly post there all the time. And again, it's TimDefense.com for those people who want to be able to help. And I'm so grateful for literally the thousands of people that have helped over the last 8.5 years, allow me to get through this entire process and be able to get to the point where it can actually appeal it.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for coming on the show today. We appreciate your wisdom. We appreciate your fight. And we encourage you to keep up with it. Stand your ground. Stay the fight. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Ray.
The task lies to us all to help turn our country around to greatness again. It has slidden so far downhill, it's ridiculous. It's up to every one of us, and election integrity is one place we have to start. We have to find people who stand the ground, who stand on solid ground. We have to remember to pursue the truth, to overcome fear, so we can restore America. Find and back people like that. We also encourage you to come back to us later this week when we have America's Sheriff David Clark and our very own Whatcom County Sheriff Bill Alfo talking about the legislation changes to Washington state law enforcement and how this could affect the rest of the nation. From Ray Gilbride at WeSpeak.com, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, be kind to the ones around you.